Hi, I'm Steve. Welcome to the Maker's Cave. And the reason I'm so jovial, this must be the 200th time I've done this intro. What I'm trying to tell you guys is that in some of my previous videos, like the chainsaw mod I did for Halloween, I used an Arduino, which is a microcontroller. Not to be confused with a Raspberry Pi, which is actually a small computer system. So I got a lot of questions from viewers, saying, hey, that's cool. Why does an Arduino? Is it the same as a Raspberry Pi? And no, it's really not. So in today's video, what I'd like to do is just explain to you guys what these different boards are. I mean, the Arduino comes in many different flavors. I'm going to show you three of the most popular, and I'm going to tell you why it's different from a Raspberry Pi. And I'm going to show you some of the things you can do with it. I'm not going to get down and dirty and show you how they were actually done and what specifically what the intricate code is to make them done. But I just want to give you an example of what you can do with one, and with a little patience and maybe a couple hours to yourself, you can figure out how to use these wonderful boards yourself. So stay tuned. Now, like I said at the beginning of this video, I'm not going to show you all the intricate wiring and the real deep coding, and there isn't a lot of coding you really got to do. It's some simple statements to get these boards all to work. Okay, I just want to go and show you guys what they look like, what some of the differences are, and how you can use them in your props or your displays. Or if you're into robotics, you can use them in the robotics. So what we're going to do next is we're going to bring the camera forward. I'm going to show you these different boards and show you exactly what the differences are. Here are the four boards we're going to discuss today. These three are Arduinos. They're the most popular ones that I use, and I think most makers would use too. The Arduinos come in all kinds of different flavors, some even smaller than this, but these are the most popular, so that's what we're going to talk about. And then over here we have the Raspberry Pi. Now, for discussion, we're going to talk about the Raspberry Pi first so we can eliminate that from the rest of these. The Arduinos are microcontrollers, which means they simply control things and look for things to happen. Button pushes, knob turns, things like that, motion sensing. They're not a computer system. The Raspberry Pi, on the other hand, is what they call a system on a chip. And that's because, the whole computer basically, sits on a chip. And this is actually a computer system. Mostly it runs the Linux operating system. So it's completely independent among, you can attach a keyboard, monitor, speakers to this, and you can do word processing, you can cruise the internet, email, all that. It's literally a small computer. The Arduino has none of that. There's no video ports, there's no audio ports, there's no network ports. They're just simply controllers. And that'll fall into place a little later. We talk a little bit more. The Raspberry has, this Raspberry Pi here, I'm all tongue-tied. Give me a second. The Raspberry Pi I have here is the Raspberry Pi 3, which is the version before. What's out now is the version 4. But they're all very similar. There are 4 USB ports that you can hook things up to, like drives and keyboards. There's a network port so you can get on the internet and your network. There's an audio port for microphones, speakers. Okay. There's an HDMI port for video, so you can hook it up to a monitor. Over here, you've got another USB micro port. Isn't there many? I get those two confused. But that's basically how you power it. Okay. There's an SD card slot right here where you keep things on it, like the operating system and any other audio files or anything else you're going to be doing with it. Data you save, letters you write, all goes right to here. What else do we have? We have some dedicated ports here for display, so you can actually put a touch screen on this. Instead of just a regular old display, you can actually put a touch screen on this. So this in itself, like I said before, is a complete computer system. The only difference is it has these pins here, which if you notice, the Nano has them. Let me see if I can get that right for you. Those pins. Over here, instead of being pins, they're just plugs over here, but you can see on this Uno and on the Mega, there's pins too. And these allow you to interface with the outside world. So not only is this a computer, you can also activate these pins to read things or to do things like move motors, move servos, read buttons, just showing some separate specialized displays like LED displays, things like that. So this is a bit of this is like using a hammer to put in a thumbtack for some of the prop work that we do. So no, these aren't comparable at all with the Arduinos. So that's why I want to eliminate this out. You probably won't be using any of this in your prop work unless it's really intricate and really detailed and needs a lot of power. Now here's the Arduino. Like I said, these are the three that I use the most often. There's the Nano, which you can get its name from, see how small it is. Look at my finger here. Okay. Then there's the Uno. It's a little bit bigger. And then you've got the Mega. Okay. They're all pretty much this. They all do the same. You program them all very much the same. Maybe there's some slight differences if you get really into some heavy stuff with them. But the main differences are these pins. On the Uno, like I showed before, they have pins. And instead of them being pins on these two boards, they're sockets. Okay, little plugs that things go into, like here. Okay. Now, as they go up in scale, you have more of these pins. And what these pins are called, they're called Gpio, which is General Purpose Input Output. We'll start with the most easiest, which you'll probably use the most in some of your basic props. But we're going to talk about the Uno. This thing's only like $3.50. So that's why I think it's really good for you prop makers to figure out how to use these. Because you can take even some simple Spirit Halloweens, and you can start hooking their motors up through relays and all onto this board and get them to do a lot more. I keep taking this out of focus. I apologize for that. The pins, and look, I'm going over this really basic. I know some of you guys are fanatics about these and are saying, oh, that's not this, that's not that. I'm just trying to give the novice or the newbie, the basic difference, okay? So if you want to elaborate on what I'm saying, don't flame me down. Just, down below, just put a simple comment, said, hey, here's what he really meant, or hey, here's what you should have said. You don't have to say, oh, this flaming idiot didn't tell you the right thing. All right, so much for my rant. Basically, the pins are two different types of pins. There's digital pins and there's analog pins. Digital pins are basically, the voltage on here is either it's a 0 for a low, 5 for a high. It can either read 5 volts or 0 volts, or it can put out 0 volts or 5 volts. That's real good for activating things, running LEDs, making sure they're either on or they're off. And there's some other things that you can do with these pins besides just that, but that's a little bit more advanced. I just wanted to give you a quick rundown. Over here you've got what's called analog pins, and what they're handy for doing is they can read a voltage from 0 to 5 volts. Okay, and it can break that down into a series of numbers you can read, so you can tell how much voltage is actually laid on these pins. And that's real good for things like the potentiometer, which is the little knob here, which I used in the chainsaw. So as I turn this knob, the voltage on these pins goes slowly from 0 all the way up to 5 volts, so you can tell exactly where this knob is at. Okay, so obviously at about 2.5 volts you're dead middle. 0, it's you're all the way down, and at 5 volts you're all the way up. And the Arduino reads that in a resolution called bits. So the Arduino actually reads it in very, very precise. You can actually get 1,023 different readings out of that. So as you turn this knob and it goes from 0 to 5 volts, the Arduino is reading 0, 100, 500, 1,000, 1023, anything in between that. So that's how you can get your real fine resolution out of that. Don't get hung up on my description right now. Just trust me on this. Okay. The digital pins over here, like I said, are a yes or no. They can read things like a button. So you can put these 2 wires on here, and then when you push this, you can tell the programming to do something. One of the things you can do is have it run a relay. Okay, so you've got a 12-volt motor that you want to run. You can set this so you can press the button, and this will activate the relay, which will make the 12-volt motor run. If you really not really studied it hard, but if you play around even more, you can attach a servo motor to this. And what's nice about that is, I'll give a brief description. A servo is more than just a basic motor. I'm trying to see if I got a basic motor around here. Here we go. So here's a real small motor. Okay, you put some power to this and it'll just continue to turn around and around and around. Servo motor, what you can do is when you hook it up to Arduino, you'd give it a position like 180, or we'll say 90 degrees. It'll turn this motor to 90 degrees, okay, and it'll keep it there. Then if you send it a command to go to 180 degrees, it'll move to 180 degrees. If you send it a code of 0, it'll go all the way the other way. So that's basically what a servo motor is. There's a little sensor in there. It's another potentiometer that tells it where it's at. This is what you use in your props to get your heads to move and your arms to move, and it's a nifty little thing. So let's get all these back again. So that's basically what these three boards do. And as you move up, like I said, you have more of these pins, so you can attach more of these devices. So maybe instead of attaching just 4 servos to an Arduino Nano, you can attach 8 all the way up here to the Mega, and probably even more, because there's even specialized boards that plug into this that allow you to run 16, 32 servos at once. But that's, like I said, that's for when you guys get a little more proficient. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to put these aside here, and I'm going to show you some of the most common things we use with the Arduino, which I pretty much just did. You've got your servos that you use. You have your relay boards to turn things on and off. You've got a push button to make things happen. And this push button doesn't have to just be a push button. It can also be a motion sensor. I'm looking around to see if I had one to show you. It can be a motion sensor. It can be one of those step pads even that you get at Spirit Halloween. You can, attach that to the Arduino and get that to do something. Okay, and the other thing, of course, is the potentiometer, so you can vary things on your props. Okay, so those are kind of the basic controls you use, and you can, like I said, you can get more advanced. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to show you how each of these things are done on the Arduino. We've taken our little Nano and we put it into a breadboard that allows us to hook different components up real easy so we can test things out. So we're going to hook up our button real quick. Okay, so we now added a button to this. Now when I push the button, I have some code in there that makes the LED blink 3 times. And I'll put in post, I'll put a small description of the code so you can see exactly what makes it do that. But it was real simple. Okay? Push it, and the light blinks. Pretty neat, huh? All right, the next thing we'll do, is we'll add this relay board. Okay, so let's add the relay board in. And what we'll use is, this is a LED light, and we're going to use our power supply, computer power supply breakout board we got here from Bunker Stuff. And this is a 12 volt. This is a 12 volt. So I can show this to you. That's supposed to go in your tail light to replace your regular incandescent bulb in a car. Nice bright 12 volt. Something you would use in a Halloween prop. But the Arduino only runs on 5 volts, so it certainly can't power this. And we're going to show you how you can use a relay to power, something like this light bulb. Okay, it's LED light bulb, or a motor. So we'll hook that up right now. Now this relay, what it looks for 5 volts on this pin, this wire right here from the Arduino, which the Arduino's made it do. We're going to use one of those digital pins we were talking about. So first we got to give power to the relay. Okay, so the relay now has power, and we will take this and we will put this on a digital pin. And let's say we'll put this on pin 9. Okay, so now we'll take our relay board. So we've added our button to the Arduino, and we've added the relay to the Arduino, okay? And I changed the code so that instead of blinking the LED when I push the button, it's going to activate this relay, which in turn is going to turn this 12-volt light on. We're getting the 12 volt from the power supply right here. So when I push this button, all right. So that's how you can use the button and the relay board to turn things on and off. I know you're starting to think already what you can use in your props for this for. I'm telling you, it's really fun. You can pick up books, go to the library. Go to the library? Yeah, you can go to the library. You can go to Barnes & Noble or your local bookstore, and you can get all kinds of books on what you can do with the Arduino. It's really cool. So the next thing we're going to do, which is really neat, is I'm going to show you how you can use a servo motor hooked up to this. So that's going to be next. I took away the relay and I just left the servo motor so it's a little easier, so it's not so cluttered on the screen. Trying to get this a little closer. So we now have the servo set up. I changed the code so that pin that used to activate the relay now activates the servo using some special commands for servos, and it sends the right pulse out to the servo, okay, to make it go to a certain position. And what I'm going to do is I have code that makes it go 90 degrees and comes back, 90 degrees and comes back. So we're going to turn this on. The Arduino boots up. Actually, I have it set at 180 degrees, so it goes 180, back. See if I can. Now this is a real simple loop that I have that just keeps doing that. But you can see now how if you have this connected, and there's all kinds of different connectors you can get for this. I recommend Servo City. That's where I get all my parts from for servos. And you can start putting a head on here. You can put arms, a hand, and now you can see how a head can turn. You can put a little head on here. This is strong enough with the right bracket. This is just a little tiny bracket, plastic bracket, but you can get a metal bar that's like this big that sits on here, and with the holes in it just like this, and you could screw that to a skull, and now you'd have a skull that goes back and forth. And you can adjust the speed at which this turns so it does it real slow. And if you wanted to put a second servo and mount it sideways like this, you can get the head to tilt up and down too. All right, that's as far as I'm going to go today with this. Like I said, I just wanted to show you some of the differences of the boards. Let me turn this off. I just wanted to show you some of the differences of the different boards. Trying to get them all into focus. Okay, and that you can start having fun. And like I said, just go out to the bookstore, grab a book. Google is your next best reference, and YouTube. If you start Googling things like Arduino and servos, you're going to get to see all kinds of different cool stuff, okay, about how they use these things to drive these servos and examples, and show you exactly how to do it. So you can see how, using all these different boards, you can get some real good prop work going out of this. And like I said, grab a book, go to the library, go to the bookstore, get some simple books on how to do Arduinos, the Make magazine, a Servo magazine, or Nuts and Bolts. They're two good resources. And of course, you've got Google. Nothing beats Google. And YouTube. You can search YouTube all day long with different things you can do with Arduinos and props and servos and motors and lights. That's it for this little explanation of what these boards can do. So that's it for today's little demonstration on the Arduino boards and how you can use them in your props or your robotics. Like I said, it wasn't an end-all be-all explanation. It was just to show you what these boards are, what they can do, and the difference between that and a Raspberry Pi. So I really encourage you to go out and, like I said, go to Amazon. 3 of these are $15. Bring it home, play with it. There's let me see if I can, I don't know if you can see it on here. There's an actual built-in LED on here that's attached to, I think it's pin 13. So you can actually get this, plug it into a USB cable, right here, plug it in, and you can write some simple code just to get that blinking. So why not for $15? Order one in, play around with it. I think for $6 you can just order one. And I think you'll start to enjoy it. Like I said, it opens up the world with your props and what you can do. As a matter of fact, there's one other thing I wanted to show you. Let me go off camera here for a second, see if I can find it. Is a prop I'm working on right now. Okay. And one of the things that's attached to it is this little $6 thing right here. See if I can show it to you. It holds an SD card, and it holds music. So this is for a prop. You can see the speaker right here. This is, oh no, you can't see the speaker right here because I'm zoomed in. Okay, so here's the speaker. Here's the little $6 device with the SD card in it that holds some sound effects on it. And this is going to be the haunted CB, that we're going to be doing in a little while. Okay, that's one of the next videos coming up. Hopefully we'll get that done before Halloween. Now I'm really close to the camera. You get to know me real good. Okay, so I hope this video helped you in some way. If it did, hit the like button. If you want to see more that comes out, hit the subscribe button, and also hit the bell so you know when they come out. So if you have any questions, just let me know down below. If you want to correct anything that I said, please feel free to correct me because I want to make sure everybody's well informed. So until next time, thanks for stopping by the Maker's Cave. I'm Steve. I'll see you later.